I'm slowly moving to the metaist of meta decks, and for today I'm going over my favorite of the top 3 meta decks. Green Nidhogg Control has been a deck that has done an amazing job in the BT4 format and BT5 format. Considering with the limiting of Argomon and hidden potential discovered, this deck lost a lot of power over here in the United States, unlike Japan. Nidhogg Control has a number of ways to play the deck, and for today's build, I put my personal touches on the deck, as well as a card-by-card explanation. I also spoke and worked with Eric Edlund, 2-time second place Digimon Tamer on his build as well. And this is a build I think works amazingly well. Remember, everyone has their own personal preferences, and because of that, this channel aims to go outside of the box for deck profiles that may give you a slight edge. With that, let's begin. This deck runs 5 level 2s, 15 level 3s, 12 level 4s, 9 level 5s, 7 level 6s, 2 level 7s, 3 option cards, and 2 tamers. Remember, this deck runs a lot of the same cards you'll see in other builds. It's just a matter of what preferences you have for the game. As a more control-oriented player, I'm less aggressive and personally like to minimize memory to my opponent. Level 2s, I run 1 copy of Minomon and 4 copies of Yokomon. For Minomon, I prefer this Digimon over other level 2s because of the extra DP buff. You may run Argomon in its place, but I found that with Digibursting you typically lose this Digimon's effect. As for Yokomon, this Digimon is the MVP of the level 2s, having a when Digiburst effect that gives my Digimon plus 2000 DP for the turn. For Grand Kuwagamon, this pumps him to 13,000 DP, only losing to Ragna Lordmon, Millenniummon, Chaosmon variants, and Omnimon variants in the security. With Raffalezimon, you get pumped to 15,000, meaning you only lose to Omnimon variants with 15,000 DP. For level 3s, I run 4 Goblimon, 3 Terriermon, 1 Lalamon, 4 Palmon, and 3 Tentomon. 4 Goblimon is my cheap Digimon for playing outright. It's useful to play this when your opponent sets you to 1, and you can return the favor. This Digimon can also be substituted with Argomon from BT2. Although Arurumon and Lylemon may also be substitutes, they have Digivolution memory costs of 2. 3 Terriermon is an absolute must in the deck. This hard counters Rookie Rush builds from using Blinding Ray and Hammer Sparks. It also counters Lilith Loop. But do keep in mind, if your opponent has a Digimon with Lady Devimon's Inheritable, 2 Terriermons will be needed to keep them off the loop. 1 Lalamon because you Digiburst so often, it'll be nice to see this rookie fly back to your hand. But I want the other effects that give me jamming. Palmon is run at 4 because of this, and is the primary rookie you'll see. This protects a lot of your Digimon from deletion in the security, except against security control. You may notice the absence of BT5 Palmon in my build. This is because I found the condition of on deletion to be a potential dilemma. In order to place Promo Palmon back under your stack, this Palmon needs to be deleted. And there are numerous scenarios in which this can go wrong. You have a Raffalezimon with a Nidhoggmon underneath it. You swing with Palmon. You hit an option card that either 1 deletes Raffalezimon, or 2 sends the memory back to your opponent. Palmon didn't get deleted, and you lost board presence or set it to your opponent's turn. In today's meta with Yellow-Green Rush, Lord Nightmon, Green Control, and Lilith Loop dominating the meta scene, Spiral Masquerade, Needle Spray, and Jackraid are the absolute worst things you can hit in the security. Because of that, I chose not to run the BT5 Palmon, and instead view it as a one use and done. Finally, I run 3 Tentomon because this Digimon lets me potentially add a card from the top of my deck to the hand. And with this particular card, there are only 7 possible cards out of the 50 that would get shipped to the bottom. Remember, this Tentomon only adds green Digimon, meaning if you hit Chaosmon, option cards, or tamers, they're sent straight to the bottom. At 3 copies, you will find yourself whiffing occasionally, but not constantly. For level 4s, I run 2 copies of Vegiemon, 2 copies of Togomon, 4 copies of Weedmon, and 4 copies of Blocker Kabuterimon. 2 Vegiemon and 4 Weedmon are your best options to play when bricking. In addition to being cheap Evo cost, Weedmon stands out above Vegiemon for its inheritable effect of recovering 1 memory when it's Digibursted. Togomon plays a crucial role of digging for level 5 or higher Digimon. This includes Chaosmon. I never went over my experience in Carta Magica, where it was my first Digimon tournament ever played in a 256 player setting. After 5 rounds going undefeated, I went 3 straight losses, either losing to Bricking or just never finding a level 5, placing 39th. Togemon has helped immensely in playtesting since. Last but not least, 4-blocker Kabuterimon for the level 4 lineup. Now other cards you may run in this build are Woodmon, just to provide extra blocker potential. I don't see the need for it primarily because with a lot of what I have in the build, you won't need them. For level 5s, I run 1 Argomon, 4 Cherrymon, and 4 Blossommon. Argomon is mandatory for any green build, providing you free ways to push bodies onto the board. Although my luck typically sees him in the security, or getting deleted the turn I play him. C'est la vie. I personally like Cherrymon because of the cheap 2 Evo cost. Many individuals will split the Cherrymon into 2 Cherrymon and 2 Lilamon. However, for all intensive purposes, I actually prefer to keep all my Digivolution sources for that potential Nidhogg wipe. Cherrymon's cheap 2 cost Evo is perfect for what I want to do to choke my opponent, especially with Green and Yellow Rush being such a competitive deck. Last but not least, 4 Blossommon. It's the next best thing to Argomon, but it has no inheritables. If your opponent passes you even 1 memory, you can Nidhogg them from a level 4 pushed up to raise with this guy. For level 6s, I run 3 Nidhoggmons, 3 Raffalezimon, and 1 Grand Kuwagamon. This deck wouldn't be Nidhogg Control without Nidhoggmon, am I right? Nidhoggmon has an amazing ability that when Digivolving, Digiburst 4 then send all suspended Digimon and Digimon with 5000 DP or less to the bottom of the deck and trash all the evolution sources. This is one of Green's primary board wipes at this time. Because of this, many individuals play 1 or 2 copies of the original blockers from starter decks and BT2 with 6000 DP to dodge this. In my deck situation, Cherrymon fulfills that role. But even after Nidhogg has used his ability, Raffalezimon can come in and do some serious damage. Before I go into the discussion on Raffalezimon, I run Grand Kuwagamon for the OTK potential. However, like most control decks, your objective isn't to just outright beat your opponent in 1 turn, but minimize your opponent's board presence while building up your own. In one test game, I was able to push my Grand Kuwagamon from raise, as I was playing against Green Imperial, and didn't want to hit their Needle Spray and be swung over by Imperial Dramon. I Digibursted twice to give my Grand Kuwagamon +2 security checks. My opponent's board was Dino Beamon and a Grizzlymon. After making Grand Kuwagamon's +2 security checks with jamming and +2000 DP, I proceeded to Evo Grand Kuwagamon into Raffalezimon for 1. Then I did it again. Raffalezimon was able to Digiburst Grand Kuwagamon and the Raffalezimon for another 2000 DP buff, with jamming, with +2 security check, and stop the Grizzlymon from blocking. Luckily, I didn't hit a Hammer Spark, because then I proceeded to Chaosmon the Raffalezimon and swing into Dino Beamon to prevent a counter Nidhoggmon play. It was ridiculous. With level 7s, you have the option to run Chaosmon or Chaosmon Valderon. Personally, I prefer Chaosmon because of the fact that I can swing over an opponent's Digimon, and also further advance into my opponent's security. Valderon may remove their Digimon from the field, but I also think swinging straight in to do some security damage puts a lot of pressure on your opponent. With that, I am left with 5 cards in the deck to discuss, 3 of which are option cards in the form of 2 Flower Cannon and 1 Hidden Potential Discovered. You may be asking, why Flower Cannon instead of Needle Spray? Honestly, I had the same thought as well, but after discussions with Eric, he made a very valid point that in today's meta, everyone plays cheap blockers instead of 6000 DP ones. However, against Yellow-Green Rush or Yellow-Lord Nightmon, the 2 decks that flood their field with bodies, this card absolutely destroys their board presence by suspending all their Digimon, and giving your Nidhoggmon more value. To that end, I would recommend Flower Cannon for more control-oriented builds in the meta, and Needle Spray for more aggro builds. Last but not least, 2 tamers in the form of Mimi Tachikawa. While Davis may be the best tamer for blue, Mimi is one of the best tamers for green. As mentioned in previous videos, after Nidhoggmon has done his job, you can use Mimi Tachikawa to push out a newly raised Digimon that's Evo'd to level 3 for another security swing. And that is Green Nidhogg Control. This deck has been one of my favorite decks to play in the BT4 and BT5 format. Like Imperial Dramont, it has very subtle changes between formats, but still contends with the meta and is meta. What do you think of Green Nidhogg Control and how much it's changed in the last set? Let me know in your comments below. I've got 2 more meta decks to go over before shifting gears back to my other content. With the news of BT8 featuring Armored Digimon and dual color cards, it's time for another Card Creators episode. Till then, this is DigiPanda, logging out.